Hi, I'm Corey Lewis, and this is my informative speech on the history of the Chicago Cubs. Since I could talk forever about history of the Cubs, I decided to break it down into important events that have happened in the history. The first event I'd like to talk about dates back all the way to 1870 when the team was formed as the Chicago White Stockings by William Hulbert. The next biggest event in the team history comes on April 25th, 1876, when the team has its first game as a member of the National League, also part of the Major League Baseball. Fast forward all the way up to March 27th, 1902, the Chicago Daily News is the first major entity to pen the team with its Cubs nickname. Since 1902, the team has never changed its name. The day Cubs fans always remember, since we haven't won a World Series since, October 12th, 1907, the Cubs claimed their first World Series title against the Detroit Tigers. December 31st, 1913, Cubs legend Charles Wiegum signs a deal to lease the property for the stadium at Clark and Addison Streets in Chicago, where the park still stands today. About 2 years later, Wiegum and 9 investors purchased the Cubs from Charles Taft. 3 months later, the first game is played at Wiegum Park. In 1920, the park was renamed Cubs Park, and in 1926, renamed to Wrigley Field, which it still currently is now after then-current owner William Wrigley. From 1926 to 1944, the Cubs were a constant playoff team, but never won anything. October 6, 1945, quite possibly the worst day in Cubs history to some. William Simas tries to bring his Billy Goat into the stadium during World Series Game 4. He's denied entry, and as he is being escorted from the stadium, he curses the team, saying they will never ever win a World Series again. Many people refer to this as the curse of the Billy Goat because the Cubs since have never won a World Series or gotten past the first round of a playoff game. As the Cubs play some of their worst baseball in team history after the GOAT curse, things brighten up as Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks, makes his Cub debut by hitting a home run in his first at-bat. Ernie Banks played 18 seasons for the Cubs, finishing his career with 512 home runs. From 1953 to 1980, it was a dead time in Cubs playing history, as they never won anything. Owner William Wrigley was so fed up with the team, he sold them to the Tribune Company on June 16, 1981 for $20.5 million. 1982 rolls around and another Cubs legend is introduced. Legendary Cub broadcaster Harry Caray joins the team and becomes one of the most well-known voices in Cubs as well as baseball history. May 6, 1998, young rookie phenom Kerry Wood strikes out 20 batters in what some people call the most memorable pitching performance of all time. As the 2000s roll around, the Cubs are just an awful team. They have a not very solid lineup, but they do have quite a bit of promise. And then possibly the worst thing could have happened in the history of the team. Die-hard Cub fan Steve Bartman, during Game 6 of the National League Championship Series against the Florida Marlins, sitting in the left field bullpen area, reaches over and takes a possible out from Moises Alou when the Cubs were 4 outs away from the World Series. After that, the Marlins end up scoring 9 runs in that inning and beating the Cubs that day and the day after. Steve Bartman is so hated by everybody, saying that it's his fault that the Cubs lost both games and everything, that he's escorted from the stadium for his own safety, and he receives several and hundreds and thousands of death threats for years to come. To this day, Steve Bartman has actually never returned to Wrigley Field, and his story has been used for countless documentaries as well as comedy skits. The Cubs after 2003 were never a very good team during most of the 2000s. They always were losing and finishing last in the division. In 2009, the Tribune Company sells the team to the Ricketts family and their chairman, Tom Ricketts, for $845 million. As a huge fan of the team, it hurts to see them lose every year, but their franchise truly is full of lots of history. Thank you for listening to my speech, and